pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief Neely. Mr. Chair, members of the board, I'm Larry Medosky, Battalion Chief. So this report, in summary, the Lathrop Manteca Fire District has placed comprehensive measures in effect to be a partner in the local efforts to conserve water. Our efforts include water conservation measures on all district-owned property, real property, as well as operational measures directed to our conservation effort. Thank you, Becky. At the May 21st, 2015, the Fire Board requested a presentation on measures being taken to conserve the use of water under the purview of the Lathrop Manteca Fire District. In addition, staff participated in meetings from both the City of Lathrop and the county regarding ordinances with regards to water conservation. Water use and conservation efforts have been sensitive subject all across all forms of media. My apologies. The LMFD has specifically been sensitive to our use of potable and non-potable water. Staff has specifically kept abreast of the issue within the municipalities in which we serve, since we have both the City of Lathrop as well as the county areas. The fire district is approaching our conservation efforts in the most responsible methods possible. Methods of conservation. Staff was able to eliminate substantial amounts of ornamental lawn at Station 31 during the asphalt and concrete capital improvement project. Staff was able to repurpose the septic storage tanks that were being used for training use and included them as a catch basin for water runoff during the asphalt and concrete capital improvement project at Station 31. Firefighters have been using automatic adjustable flow rate nozzles to adjust the amount of water usage applied during overhaul operations. Those are the nozzles that obviously we have at the end of the hose. The firefighters have been using the concentrated Class A foam that is added to the water tank of fire apparatus to assist in better penetration of water's cooling properties. It basically just breaks down the surface tension of the water and allows those cooling properties to soak into to various Class A combustibles. Firefighters use automatic proportioning and shut-off nozzles to clean apparatus and equipment. Staff has been purchasing landscaping blowers to maintain facilities where water was previously used. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you. Okay, item number 7 is public comment. Oh, no.
Oh.
Yeah, we're recording, so
Huh?
we're recording
Yeah.
it on CDs.
Okay. I'm sorry, you should have told me sooner, Chief. You get all that sign language from Debbie? Okay. Okay, there you go. Okay, public comment. Persons who wish to speak to the board regarding an item that is not on tonight's agenda or wish to ask the board to pull an item from the consent calendar may do so at this time. We have a speaker or speakers. Okay. Come forward, Mr. Ishihara.
Toshi Shihara, 15838 South Derby Lane, Lathrop. Good evening, Council and Chairman. I come here because, on the fire that happened Tuesday, I want to thank the two lovely ladies sitting up there, Becky and Debbie, for what above and beyond. I mean, I don't think they got home till 10:30, but I want to thank them for delivering the water and the sandwiches. Of course, I was in Chairman Benny Gatto called me. I just come out of ophthalmologist, and he asked me if I was on the CERT team, and I said yes. And he says, well, we need help, so I came and reported to him at Station 31. But I want to, I really want to thank the firemen. Chief Neely was the overall chairman, director of it, did an excellent job. And Larry, I seen you there doing an excellent job, and the firefighters from not only Lathrop, Manteca, Ripon, Tracy, Cal Fire, also I think French Camp, Montezuma, and College. If I forget someone, please correct me. What I want to say is, I want to relay the firefighters to thank them, because I know it's their job, okay? But the simple thank you, I think, means a lot. And sometimes, of course, somebody on the board, you realize you wouldn't be certain of being on the board if you didn't, back your firefighter and thank them. But every so often, a simple thank you means a great deal. And when Larry came by and thanked me, it really meant a lot to me. And I said, it doesn't cost a dime. I always told my students at school, always doesn't cost you to say thank you. If I open the door, or if your mother, I always told them that after dinner, thank your mother for preparing the food. Okay? It doesn't cost you, and it means a lot. Saying please and thank you will go a long ways. But I do want to thank the firefighters for all they have done. And I think it was noted in the paper, but it always goes in towards the back page, which I believe those things should be in the front page. But they don't sell, newspaper don't sell when they have to, someone has to die or get killed in order to go sell the newspaper. But I want the people to know, and I think we had a portion in the paper, a person thanking the firefighters for their job, and that's good to hear. I think more people need to hear this, what they do. We always hear the negative, okay? But very seldom do we get the positive. So, and this includes not only firefighters, but the police. When they need the police, they're there, but then they get the negative part. They don't think about the positive that they do. But please, Chief, relay to the battalion chiefs of the others that as a taxpayer and a resident of this city, and I've seen them at work. So thank you. And Becky and Debbie, thank you very much. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tosh. Okay, other speaker? I think, Mr. Cardoza? Yeah, you want to step forward and state your name and address for the record, please?
Johnny Cardoza, 24421 South Airport Way. That's where it was our ranch where the fires were at 2 days ago. And the wind came up and it jumped the river twice and burned one of the houses down, and we're trying to save the other ones. And it just, like, everybody was out of water. The well there went dead because the fire took the pole. And I'm just asking, give me one of your couplers so I can get, so everything out there we're ag. We got these called cam locks.
Right.
And we called the neighbor, Lauren Hayworth, the Dutra Farms. They come out there with their 2 water trucks, and they saved, you've seen it, it saved another 2 houses. Mm-hmm. But we couldn't feed the fire trucks. Mm-hmm. And I just need a fitting. I'll donate the couplers, and we have them, so we can help when it's needed.
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's a simple fix, too, John.
It doesn't cost that much.
You know, I was just talking to the chief. I'm familiar with the cam locks because I spent 30 years at fertilizer out here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's all we ever used.
Yes.
And
They got these screw-on things.
Really, you know, use a female on your end and ours are a male, all you gotta do is put a nipple between the two and you got a connection.
Well, that's why I'm asking. I
Yeah.
need their fitting so we can get this
Right.
rigged
right,
up.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's good. I'm glad you
Because the
were here.
neighborhood there gets together fast. You've
Yeah.
seen that. And it,
Yeah, and that would have saved a lot of time, possibly saved the house, you know?
oh, it did. It saved,
Yeah.
because he can fill up in under 4 minutes. He goes
Right.
right back to dairy to get the deep well and just pours right into that
Yeah.
tanker.
Yeah, that's great.
So just give me one of those deals and I'll take care of it. And
Good.
And we were just talking before the meeting, we're going to make arrangements for the captains to make contact with them, see what we need. We have some surplus supplies in the mezzanine at Fours, and we're going to make that happen and be consistent. So it'll be, if it's all of male, they'll all have males, so we won't have to, we know exactly what we need, and we're going to reach out to all the neighbors there. And I do want to thank each and every one of them. I was going to do it at the end. The neighbors really do come together.
Oh, yeah.
When I saw 2 water trucks there, I was thinking, well, where did those come from? And they were Ducha's trucks and your guys' stuff. And I was like, and that's not the first time they've done that for us.
Right.
And it is a lifesaver, because that is the worst feeling, to have no water, because that is our bread and butter. So thank
I
you very much.
guarantee you, anytime there's a fire around the farming land, you got the farmers there. You know, good.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah.
Collegeville did something with their farmers in regards to using a deep well with their ISO rating.
Oh, there we go.
So, because we're doing the cup link, wouldn't in the future help that in regards to response to rural areas?
Right, so that's going to be part of the program. Just giving them cup links, I think, is a good thing, because that helps us with the water trucks. But there's a lot of deep wells out there that we could potentially utilize. There's one where we were at that was on the corner. I think it got hit with the electrical, but if that was functioning and we had a connection off of it, we could have been able to get water. We wouldn't even need a water truck. There was enough water coming out of there to fill up the engine. So it's a program that I want to put in place for the rural communities, not just 2s, but with 3s also, that we could utilize. And it did help them with their ISO rating, and it's something that we can incorporate. We'll have to apply for that new rating, but it's something that the program, you have to be able to have a program. You just can't say it. You know what I mean? It's got to be documented. But we'll move forward with that. Thank you,
Okay,
Chief.
And let me
yeah, go ahead.
also suggest, Chief, that whatever solution we come up with, in addition to giving it to them, we should outfit our own rigs with it, so that we have the connections that we need. So when the water truck comes up, no matter where they come from, we can make the connection.
With the cam. Okay.
Right.
Bill Mahaffey, 4920 Fig Avenue, Manteca, California. Before I say what I came up here to say, I wanted to ask a question, Chief. This thing popped up on the LAFCO agenda today where they're annexing 194 acres to the Manteca City with the concurrent detachment of the Lathrop Manteca Fire Protection District and the San Joaquin County Resource Conservation District, whatever that means. But does that mean we lose the revenue immediately, or do we keep it for that 10-year period?
We did 2 things, but that's one of them. So the agreement is one item for them to talk about tonight, that agreement. So LAFCO requires that there be a mitigation agreement in place for all annexations from this point forward. And so the agreement is a 10-year, they wanted to do something that they could pay up front, because we have a couple other agreements out there where they pay every year a mitigation. This one's a significant smaller, but it's still money, and every dollar counts, as well as you know. You sat on this board for so long. So they did a 10-year agreement with 3% increments, but they want to do a lump sum of that. And I'm presenting, I shouldn't say we have agreed to, because the board has to agree to it, but the recommendation is then for the board to agree to that, with the caveat that Manteca and Lathrop Manteca will be looking at, and not just proposing, but really looking at doing joint staffing and providing service in the rural Manteca area. So what we have always feared is we will lose so much money we can't afford to put the station there.
Right.
The solution is that we work together for a regional response, that we provide just as good as, if not better. That station will always be there, the way we're staffing it, but we'll be able to call on the closer units from Manteca without the misunderstanding of, well, I spend more time than you did. We're going to jointly staff stuff. That's the caveat that or else I would be going for longer than 10 years.
Okay. The other thing is, I just really wanted to highly commend the men and women of the district and the enormous amount of mutual aid. Did you have airplanes in the?
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
had an air tanker too.
How long did it take them to get here from the?
They came from Hollister. Yeah.
Huh?
Down-
Hollister, yeah.
Hollister, yeah. Yeah, probably 20 minutes.
It was an impressive effort,
Oh, yeah.
and my hat's off to you.
Good. Thank you, Bill. Anyone else wishing to speak to the board? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, move on to item 8, public hearing. Huh? 8.1 is approve and adopt resolution 2015-10, year-end 2014-2015 budget reconciliation. You want to give the report, Chief? I mean, or Becky or somebody?
Yeah. Becky will give the report on that.
Thank you, Chief. Item 8.1, to approve and adopt resolution number 2015-10, the year-end 2014-15 budget reconciliation. At this point, we were just looking at doing a general transfer of items that were already budgeted for from the general fund to capital outlay, I believe. Oh, fire facility fees, I'm sorry. And that was just, once again, to cover items that were already budgeted in the previous budget year.
The reconciliation is for the payment. Remember, we agreed that we would pay back starting this year, the existing year, the $50,000. The first payment would be this year. So we're going to reconcile the budget by putting $50,000 back into the first payment for the year.
Okay, that's a public hearing. Is there any questions before I open the public hearing? Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure?
I'm ready to make a motion if there's no questions.
Okay, sounds like there's no questions.
I make a motion that we approve resolution R 2015-10.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Director Payton?
Yes.
Director Gleason?
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes?
Yes.
Chairman Gatto?
Yes. Okay. We'll move on to item 8.2 is approve and adopt resolution 2015-11, 2015-2016 fiscal year, Proposition 4, government spending limit GAN limit. Okay.
Becky will do the
All right.
public hearings, just so I don't have to keep telling you.
Thank you, Chief. Item 8.2, approve and adopt resolution 2015-11. This is for the 2015-16 fiscal year. Proposition 4, government spending limit, also known as the GAN limit. We usually get an estimated amount of not to go over a budget limit according to the GAN, and we usually are substantially underneath that budgeted amount. So this is basically just a protocol to continue with the GAN limit requirements, and we will be significantly under the limit, which is 13 million, according to the GAN limit for our district.
Okay. Thank you. Any other any questions Staff, before I open the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 8.2? All right, seeing none, close the public hearing, bring it back to the board. What's the pleasure?
Motion to approve and adopt Resolution 2015-11.
Okay, then a second. Roll call, please.
Director Payton,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Item 8.3 is approve and adopt Resolution 2015-12, 2015-2016, fiscal year tax rates.
Yes. In the resolution 2015-12, this is the resolution to set forth the tax rates for this fiscal year. Once again, this is a resolution that we come across every year. This is just putting in effect our tax rates that have been adopted since '82.
Okay. Questions of staff?
Nope.
Okay, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 8.3? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Bring it back to the board. Any questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion to approve and adopt Resolution 2015-12 to keep the tax rates the same.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Director Payton,
Aye.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes. Okay, and the last public hearing is 8.4, approve and adopt resolution 2015-13, 2015-2016, fiscal year budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Item 8.4 is Resolution 2015-13. This is the fiscal year budget for 15-16, and this is the items that were discussed at the previous meetings under the budget study session, and any changes that were discussed at that point as well. So we're bringing the budget to be adopted for the fiscal year to you.
Okay. Questions?
None.
Okay. I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on item 8.4 on the budget? Seeing none, close the public hearing, bring it back for questions. If not, look for a motion. Want me to?
Why don't you make a motion, Chair?
All right. I'll make a motion, we approve and adopt resolution 2015-13, 2015-2016, fiscal year budget.
Second.
Okay, roll call?
Director Payton,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Feels
Very
good to have a balanced budget.
Can I make a
Yes, ma'am.
I want to thank staff, chief, and all the staff that worked on this budget. But most of all, I want to thank you for the meeting, the special meeting, and the times before, because it was so easy to go through it this time and feel comfortable in making taking a vote on it. That's probably why you heard no questions. I mean, we asked them to death, so that's very good. Thank you.
We'll continue that.
It makes it so much nicer to have a dialogue as we go through the process versus at the end surprises type of thing.
Kudos, chief, you and your staff, good job.
Now we just gotta get an auditor.
And the staff in the office, because they were always putting papers and papers and papers together.
Yeah, good job. Okay, we'll move on to item number 9 is consent calendar. Becky, would you read the consent calendar, please?
Consent calendar item 9.1, June 11, 2015, budget study session, meeting minutes. Item 9.2, June 18, 2015, regular board meeting minutes. 9.3, monthly register of warrants. Item 9.4, receive and file June 2015 incident and training report. Item 9.5, receive and file monthly year-to-date budget report.
Thank you.
Mr.
Any-
Chair, I need to remove 9.2 because I wasn't here.
Okay,
But I'll make a motion to approve the others.
okay.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve items on the consent calendar with item 9.2 pulled. Okay, roll call, please.
Director Payton,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes?
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes. Thank you.
Then I make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 18th.
Second.
Okay. I'll just call for a motion on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstained.
Abstain. Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving right along here, item 10.1 is approve and adopt resolution 2015-14 authorizing the fire chief to enter into a regional fire dispatch joint powers agreement.
Okay, well, this is one of the items that we've been bringing as we've moved over from J-Rug to Stockton to now we're faced with a joint powers agreement, which was one of the items that one of the contingencies that we were, when we moved, was promised to us that it would be a formation of a joint powers agreement. And I do want to, before I get started, I want to specify that this in no means is with Stockton Dispatch. It doesn't mean, the joint powers has not, I don't want to associate it with the dispatch itself. An operational agreement will be negotiated with the JPA for services from dispatch. So the group as a JPA will function as one with similar models for response and similar departments and similar aid, and we're going to plan on expanding that through different means such as USAR and HAZMAT, and that'll all come before the board. But I just don't want to get caught up in it's about Stockton's dispatch service, because it'll just be a service, such as if we wanted to do the same thing, this group could then go to AMR and request a bid to be dispatched from them. It could go to Redcom and get a request to be dispatched from them. We're hoping that eventually the governance model for the JPA will be able to establish its own county dispatch. That's the goal of the group. But I didn't want to get caught up in the cost, and so that's why I wanted to be specific before I read the background. So, going with discussion, enclosed is a copy of the agreement between the City of Manteca, City of Lodi, and the City of Stockton with the City of Tracy and the Lathrop Manteca Fire Protection District regarding fire dispatch services. At this time, the City of Tracy still is being dispatched through J-Rug. They are discussing moving over, and there is some intent for that, but they're not signing this document as of yet. We did make the document available that they with a plan that if they want to, they will come over as part of that. So the attached agreement will allow the following agencies to jointly provide for regional emergency and non-emergency dispatch service and or related services. Staff recommends the board to authorize the fire chief to enter into the agreement with the City of Manteca, City of Lodi, City of Stockton, the City of Tracy, and Lathrop Manteca Fire Protection District regarding fire dispatch services. Again, the City of Tracy is not moving over as of yet. There's some, it's a big ship. Remember, we had to give notice and we had to go. They're a little bit bigger. They're facing some different times, which is the only reason why they didn't want to commit right away. They did just lose the Mountain House contract, which is a substantial amount of money that they're going to take out. And just getting rid of firefighters is bad enough, but there's an overhead component that was associated to that. So there's that, and then there's some other issues that they're working with the city to work through. We do expect them to potentially move over, but at this time it'll be just Stockton, Lodi, Lathrop Manteca, and Manteca.
Okay.
Oh, and also Stockton's already approved it, and Lodi approved it last night.
Questions? Aye?
Do all four of the jurisdictions have common radio channels? We can all talk to each other, right?
We do, and so with the grant that we got, and we provided the dual band radios, The goal is to move over to a UHF channel, so we're moving, the end user cost gets a little pricey, but we've been getting grants to provide for that. But we're all going over to one channel, so you have one dispatcher and then 2 commands off of that. That's the goal. But we have to get there. We have to, it's the egg and the chicken, right? You have to have, what comes first? Well, you have to have the JPA in order to negotiate the operational agreement and set up the dispatch center. So it'll be more efficient and more effective is the goal.
Well,
I have a comment.
go ahead.
It's more, it's kind of how this process went through. It was nice to be, we were part of kind of every step along the way. It wasn't just, okay, here it is, and we have no background. We saw the radios come in and be stacked up, and and watch them be dispersed, and we were part of actually making that decision on the type of equipment was being purchased, and being part of the process makes this decision a lot easier to make because there's a lot of background and being involved. And again, staff has done that for us, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's all.
Brian? Very good move, Chief. In fact, I got to listen to a lot of that dispatching at the fire the other day, and to me, they were very professional. I know Tracy they're still with J. Rogues, and they were dispatching, and what a difference between our dispatching and J. Rugs. I mean, I couldn't even hardly understand the dispatcher at J. Rugs for Tracy versus our little gal that was sharp. I mean, responded right now, knew what you were talking about, and so very good move. So.
I do want to point out, we had legal look at it, and I'm sorry, it slipped my mind a little bit. There was 3 items that he wanted to make sure the board understood. One was that this is a 10-year commitment, and so when I discussed it with him, and he sent in us a letter, but he wanted to make sure that we understand it's a 10-year commitment, and I explained to him this is a 10-year commitment, not to Stockton Fire Dispatch, but a 10-year commitment to the group, to the cities, to the other municipalities. The other one was that a 2/3 vote could go into a long-term debt. So if we wanted to sell bonds or anything, 2/3 vote of the municipalities and us could do that, and we could be stuck with that. And the point we want to make is that nobody is in position to put anybody in. I mean, look at Tracy. They're going to be in worse position than we probably will be. We're a little bit smaller, more agile ship, so to speak. So it reassured that the group is working together and no one is looking at long-term debt. That it's just in there, but because we have to have it in there in case that needs to be done. You have to, in the initial JPA formation, it has to be in there or else we wouldn't be able to do it as a group. And that includes going after grants and so on. And the other one is that the 10 years, if we opted out, we can opt out earlier than 10 years. The rest of the group just has to agree to that, which doesn't seem to be a problem. You'd have to give 1 year's notice, and everybody's we're all on the same page. We're trying to do something here that hasn't been done successfully in a long time. And so with the municipality starting off, I think we're going to be very successful and not trying to put everybody into the one, that's when you get into problems because there's so many different dynamics. But so the attorney just wanted to point that out, that those items do exist, and he was kind of stating the obvious, but I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of it.
Protection for everybody.
Absolutely. It protects us, too, because then Stockton can't leave us with debt. They have to still pay their debt. So that's just an example.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I motion that we approve.
Second. Okay, motion and second. Roll call, please.
Director Payton.
Yes.
Director Mason.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes.
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Item 10.2 is approve and adopt resolution 2015-15, authorizing the fire chief to enter into a mitigation agreement for a Central Lathrop specific plan, CSLP Phase 1.
Okay, the we want to approve and adopt Resolution 1515, authorizing us, the fire chief, to enter into the mitigation agreement with Saybrook and the Central Lathrop Specific Plan. The presented resolution approves the fire chief to enter into a fire mitigation agreement with Saybrook for Phase 1 and Phase 2 as indicated per the attachment. Saybrook owns approximately 432 acres of the real property located in the city and within the fire district's boundary and holds options of ownership of another 190 acres. Collectively, Saybrook property is as known. As graphically depicted in Exhibit A, attached here to, as provided in the rate, excuse me, my mouth was getting dry, as provided in the rate and method of apportionment for the CFD 0602 and Saybrook property is within the CFD 0602 and subject to special tax levy as followed. 432 acres of Phase 1 and 82 acres of Phase 2 of the Saybrook property are taxable when certain development milestones are met, but are not currently taxable under CFD 0602. Staff recommends to authorize the fire chief to enter into agreement with Saybrook and Central Lathrop Specific Plan Phase 1. The whole beginning of this agreement started with there is 3 documents that have been initiated in order to provide for shortfalls for the Central Lathrop Specific. We ran into a problem in Mayor Rhodes at the time, and her group were able to assist the fire district, and I'm sure the fire district members remember, and maybe Ty, but we got a grant from the city of Lathrop to fund the personnel at Station 34 because we didn't have enough money to fund them at the time. It was a shortfall. The taxes weren't coming in. Something similar to River Islands, but we mitigated it early in the agreement. We didn't get early enough in the agreement with Mossdale to get that done. So a portion of Station 34 provides service to the CLSP, which is Saybrook property that we are speaking of. And so that portion of that property has a shortfall, and Richland at the time owned the land, and there was an environmental impact report that was produced along with a CFD that was established, and then a fiscal analysis which showed the shortfall, and all 3 documents combined created the agreement, which it was never formally formalized in a single document. So working with Saybrook, trying to, because of the economy meltdown, and then now we have different issues with SB 5, trying to come to an equal ground of where we're not going to lose any funding, because originally Saybrook wanted to eliminate the CFD 02, which provides us with about $120,000 worth of funding, and we didn't want to do that. So we went back and forth to try to find an equal ground that we could both live with. What this agreement does is it keeps us at a level playing field of the $121,000 and allows Saybrook to get credit for the increase in property as it increases in value, because then we get more money from the property, so it will offset the 120. Anything we lose off of the 120 will be offset by property, and it will go back down. It's the opposite of that, because every year we will do an analysis of the money coming in, which we will pull from the county, and offset the 121 with that. So I think it's a good agreement. It's not the perfect best agreement that we could potentially have, but in order to fight the 3-document analysis, I think we're good with the one agreement, and I think the district's going to be looking pretty good. So my recommendation is to approve authorize me to enter into that.
Okay. Any questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
I'll make the motion to,
Authorize the fire chief.
my glasses, what happened?
On your face.
To enter into agreement with the,
Central
Boy.
Central Lake,
No, I lost it here. Okay,
CSLP.
I'll let you do it then.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, here it is. This is
Yeah.
bigger. Authorize the fire chief to enter into mitigation agreement with Saybrook for the Central Lathrop Specific Plan.
I think we need a driver for where we have to go
No,
home
it's,
tonight.
I'm sorry.
I'll second.
They're trifocals, and I couldn't find my way to look at the little tiny letters. These are bigger.
Okay.
I'll second if you
Okay. Okay, there's
Second.
Ty, second. Okay. Roll call, please.
Director Payton,
Yes.
Director Gleason,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes,
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes. Okay, item 10.3 is approve and adopt resolution 2015-16, authorizing the fire chief to enter into an agreement with the city of Manteca and Pillsbury Road Partners, LLC, regarding annexation mitigation.
Okay, so I'm very happy to bring this one to the board. I think we are in the best relationship that we've ever been in with not just Manteca, but with Stockton and Tracy and Lodi at this point. So we're going to approve and adopt Resolution 1516, the City of Manteca, Pillsbury Road Partnership LLC, and Lathrop Manteca Fire District Annexation Mitigation Agreement. The presented resolution approving the mitigation agreement is regarding the area known as south of Woodward, which desires to annex its property into the city of Manteca. As we've known through the years, no rural development except for Oakwood Shores that we know of will ever develop outside of a city. They need the sewer and water, and San Joaquin County is not in the business of doing sewer and water, so they will have to be annexed into a city. That has to happen. We serve the property currently, and upon the annexation of the city of Manteca will provide currently the Lathrop Manteca Fire District serves the property, and upon annexation the city of Manteca will provide fire service. Although we work hand in hand together, so it will almost be synonymous of the response that we have today. The city of Manteca and Lathrop Manteca Fire Protection District desire to ease the transition of the loss of revenues. Once the property has been annexed into the city of Manteca and detached from the district, the city of Manteca shall pay a sum equal to the current tax revenue received by the district, multiplied by 10 years with a 3% annual increase. The property tax revenue to be based on amount received for the year preceding the annexation and detachment of the property. Staff recommends the board to authorize the fire chief to enter. Staff recommends the board approve. We can't authorize the fire chief because this actually will require Benny's signature on this one. Excuse me, the chairman's signature. The chairman's signature on this document because the mayor of Manteca signed it, so I felt it was appropriate for our board chair to sign it. An agreement with the city of Manteca and Pillsbury Road Partners. This is a middle of the road. We could have forced Manteca to perpetually pay that amount. It's about $1,500 annually with some increases. It's not a significant amount, as I spoke earlier to the question from the audience from ex-board member Mahaffey. But I think what's more important is that we're looking for a long-term solution. And for the citizens south of Woodward or south of 120, there has to be a long-term solution, and it has to come from a joint regional response. And so I think that in the agreement, it also talks about us jointly staffing stations. I think that it can be done. I think it will be done. I don't think that nobody has the money today to build stations. They know that they're building stations. Their Station 5 is currently been designed, and they're hoping to build it by 2017, same time as we're hoping to build our Station 5. They're talking about jointly staffing that station with some firefighters and then responding, or actually moving the staffing to jointly staff Station 2, which is just a little bit north of where our Station 2 is, and then responding out to the community and seamlessly. And so I think it's overall, big picture, that we will work better and more efficient together. This is a great agreement to enter into.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions?
Yeah, quick question. When you say jointly staff the fire station, are we saying each city or each department would have a rig in it, or are we going to respond on the same rig?
Respond on the same rig. So, for instance, if we staffed, I'm just giving an example, if probably the best proportion for that station would be to provide the firefighters. They normally staff their rigs with a captain, an engineer, and a firefighter. So if the city of Manteca provided the captain and the engineer, we would provide the firefighter. Of course, that's going to require us to really collaborate our efforts in training and work towards that regional response. But that is, and again, that's not in the agreement. That's just one of the examples of the regional response that we could do. The other one is that we share battalions and they respond, and there's other options out there, and we'll bring them to the board for that. This is just an example, but that was one mentioned, jointly staffed in stations.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'll look for a motion.
I make a motion that we approve and adopt resolution 2015-16, City of Manteca, Hillsbury Road Partnership LLC, and Lathrop Manteca Fire Protection District annexation litigation agreement.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Roll call, please.
Director Payton.
Yes.
Director Gleason.
Yes.
Vice Chair Rhodes.
Yes.
Chairman Gatto.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're down to informational items. 11.1, Chief's report.
I included in your packets a letter from Escalon Fire Protection, similar to the one we'll be writing, thanking everybody for their help, for their fire, and we'll be sending one out for all the help that we got, which leads me into the one comment that I want to thank everyone that responded to the emergency needs of our community. Outside agencies, we had a large amount of resources, and we worked almost seamlessly with Tracy. And so when the fire jumped into Tracy's, instead of us establishing two commands and working in different channels, they immediately stayed on the one command and established branches. Tracy became a Tracy branch. When it jumped again and moved over to the airport, during the initial response, there was a little bit of all the resources responding under one command, and when I responded out there, I then established one large IC and then broke them all down into branches. And one of the responses came from Tracy has an agreement, which I think that we should potentially be looking at with CAL FIRE. What the agreement does is they respond to CAL FIRE's emergency need at no cost for the initial attack, not an ongoing. They wouldn't be there for a strike team amount. They wouldn't be there for weeks and weeks on end, but the initial attack. With that, they get all the resources that CAL FIRE has. That means aircraft, battalions, strike teams, Type 3s, overhead, whatever they have, they assist. So it's a good agreement, and we'll look at that later on down the road. But when 1664, which is the Castle Rock station that's next to Engine 93, responded, they requested the air tanker and Copter 106, which was great, because we didn't request it, they can't charge us for it. But they requested that, and immediately...
Of course, I think you talked them into it.
Yeah, well, it was nice. But immediately, they wanted to go to a VTAC channel, so we moved everybody to a VTAC Fire, which is a common channel that they use and we use, and we were able to conduct operations on that almost seamlessly. It was like it just fell into place. And we may have gotten lucky, but I think that it was great training and great workmanship on all of the firefighters, all of the agencies that responded, and even the neighbors that participated with pulling our engines out, because it's very sandy soil. So we had engines that got stuck, and Mr. Cardozo over here probably pulled more engines out than he can count on his both hands. But it was a real group effort from the community to the professionals, and I want to thank everybody publicly for that.
Yeah, everybody did a great job.
Can you just give a quick overview of the incident, just what happened?
Yeah, so approximately 12:30, 1 o'clock, we had a vegetation fire that was reported in what we call on Perrin Road, and it's a little island located on the south end of our district. And so what happens is a lot of sloughs, not necessarily the river, but a little waterway will come off, and they make these little islands everywhere. They're accessible, but the farmers use them to farm on, and sometimes there's illegal farming going on back in there, which is inappropriate. So we had the report of a fire. The battalion responded out there with initially 2 engines, and requested a tender respond out there also, and started to attack the fire. At approximately 2 o'clock, the wind kicked up. The battalion at the time requested from Tracy to go look at the other side of because the way it was actually like a big loop. So how the wind was blowing south, but the loop was formed. So if the fire was going to jump, it was going to jump on Tracy's side because they're on one side of the river, we're on the other. And so the battalion requested that the Tracy battalion go over there or actually have them get some eyes over there to look at what was going on. Well, the battalion responded over there, and when he got there, the fire had just jumped the river and started a large amount of acreage on his farmland area, which was a light, flashy fuel like grass and some brush. It proceeded to take off through there. They ordered some additional resources for that side of the river from Tracy's side, and that's when they joined and forces and stayed on the one command with Tracy being a branch and the parent IC. Approximately 3 o'clock, I started heading out that way to see what was going on, and just as we were leaving out the driveway, there was a report of a structure fire at Airport Court, which is the other side of the river. So now it's jumped into Tracy's. Now the other side of the river from Tracy to our side, structure fire with a house fully involved. The initial response was a full assignment, headed out there. The IC from Perrin went over there to see what he could do to assist while he was trying to still maintain somewhat. He had somewhat control of the grass fire, but now the fire had spread out of containment line and was over on the other side. As soon as we arrived on scene, I then assumed command, and I called, well, before I got there, I called for additional overhead and additional equipment. And as soon as we got there, we started dividing it up into branches so that it could be some sort of span of control that we can get an idea. The Perrin IC went back to the Perrin incident, the branch, and then we had Manteca's battalion responded with their fire marshal. They assumed the airport branch, and then Tracy remained on theirs, but we ended up giving them some resources because they had quite a significant amount of wildland fire going on. We battled that fire for probably, just as that was happening, that's when the Tracy Battalion came on because of the overhead request, advising me that 1664 had requested the air tanker and the copter. And I would say no more than 5 minutes after that, it seemed like the air tanker was overhead. Air Attack reported that they were unable to put too much retardant down because it was so close to the river, because you cannot put retardant in the water because it kills the fish. However, just east of the houses was this huge area of river bottom that was full of trees and brush, and it would have been a mess. And actually, it would have caused probably more damage, and we'd have lost more structures if it would have caught fire. I requested the air tanker to drop his load between the houses and that brush area, and he was able to do so without causing any damage to the waterway. That was the only thing he could do at that point. We released the air tanker out. We only had one, and he had already dropped his load. And then Copter 106 arrived shortly after that and was able to assist with airdrops on the Tracy and the Perrin side. We got full containment on the airport side and was able to mitigate. Luckily, the house was unoccupied, and we didn't lose anything but the house and a car. And the neighbors really helped in participating in saving the rest of the structures. So it was a group effort out there with neighbors and the resources that arrived on scene. The mutual aid coordinator, who was the Tracy Battalion, and Rippon's chief also arrived on scene, and we were able to request specific types of water tenders and type 6s because we were having so much trouble with the engines getting stuck over on the parent side. We needed something with four-wheel drive and able to accomplish that. There was a significant amount of land. It was 142 acres. We had 50 acres in the Perrin branch, 89 acres on the Tracy branch, and only 3 acres on the airport, but we lost a structure. As things winded down, we started reallocating. I put in the Tracy chief as operations, and I was able to deal with the media as they were coming on scene. We made a request for the CERT team to be established and for and able to get rehab for the guys. All the firefighters, I shouldn't say guys, but all the firefighters that were out there, and they were able to get water. We requested from one of our local businesses ice. They were able to donate that, and we came out of pocket for the food because we had to feed all the firefighters that were out there. It wound down around 8, 9 o'clock, but there was a significant amount of work to do. The crews ended up staying out there till about 3 a.m. that morning. We left the incident open, put it in patrol mode because it had winded down. The next morning, Chief Madowski did an operational briefing. We couldn't send out all the resources because that's asking a little too much of our neighbors' agencies. So we sent out initially our resources. We hired overtime, and we sent out our Type 3s out there to finish mopping up and to control mainly the containment lines on the Perrin side. The airport was contained. They did a very good job the night before on the Tracy branch, but we did have issues on the Perrin side. There was a lot of brush and trees that were still igniting. We completed that. They went out there for 12 hours. Again, we put it in patrol mode. This morning, they went back out. And looked at it. It's still looking cold, and we pulled off all the hose off of the incident for the day. So it was. I hope I didn't go too long on that. That's pretty much a blow by blow.
The full report, I'll guarantee.
It's a good report.
Yeah.
Do you have like incident reviews after big fires happen?
We normally try to do that, and this is a large one, but I think we're going to try this. This fire was. I wish I would have got a picture of that tanker because it'll probably never happen on the valley floor again.
There's a picture on Facebook of the tanker dropping the retardant.
Is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a beautiful picture.
Yeah, so this is probably one of the largest fires that's happened in the Central Valley. I mean, the other one was how many acres in Muskegon? 50? No. I'm guesstimating. I don't know if it was in his letter or not, but ours was 142, and that's mapped.
109 acres.
Yeah. So, and that's mapped with a helicopter. That's not just a guesstimate. They do the edge and they do the math, and it's mapped. So it was quite impressive.
I got to be on the scene. I was in the chief's office. He was going over the agenda. I had some questions. Call came in, and he says, jumps out of his chair and he says, got to go to that fire. You want to go? Okay, let's go. I didn't know I was going to be out there all night. That's when I called Tosh. Says, hey, chief wants a CERT team, let's go. But it was good. You could see all the resources coming together. And like Mr. Cardoza said, if we'd have had those fittings where they could have dumped, I mean, their water trucks are not little water trucks. They're
big.
5,000 to 6,000 gallon trucks, and so that's something we can work on. Get it where it's cooperative and it'll happen again. It's just a given, There's so much brush down in that area that once you get a little spark, it's going to go,
One last quick question. Do we know what started the fire?
We do. After the initial investigation, it was deemed accidental, and we had some motorcycles that were in the area with no spark arresters on.
I mentioned to you, I tried to get the chief to give Becky and Debbie and Tosh and I some strike team money because when we were delivering the water and the sandwiches on the way back, there was a little fire that started on the levee. And so I hollered to the girls. I said, stop. And luckily we had enough water bottles that we were able to put it out, or otherwise, we'd have been in trouble.
I told him he could go ahead and submit his request. I give him the forms. He can wait 280 days like we have to wait for the state.
Well, we might not want the union to know that the board's putting out fires.
Good call.
Okay, all right. We'll delay that one then. Okay, any other reports, Chief? None?
No, not at this point. The fireworks booth did well. We ended up doing about, I think, 14,000 in cash, and then there was significant enough amount of credit that for the first time, Phantom's going to owe us money. So, well, there's $3,300. So we'll be, we shared that with the boosters who staffed it for the most part. We did have some staffing out there. Penny was out there. I was out there. And my staff was out there one day, and then we'll be putting that. We're keeping it separate from the general fund, and it will have its own account, and that's what we'll pay for the dinner this year. I just also want to let the board know we're hiring reserves. We interviewed them Saturday, and then we had a couple that had some previous engagements. We brought them in. They were military duty, so we made sure that we made accommodations for the military. And we're going to be hiring 11. Some really good applicants. So it looks really good. It's not as diverse as I wanted it to be. I was hoping it would be more, but
Is it diverse at all?
very little. Well, there is, but
Yeah.
not as much as I was hoping.
Okay.
So we got to work on that. That's one of my priorities. It's definitely a priority of mine to do that. I didn't get any females. I was hoping to get some female firefighters. And Collegeville had one, I think, and there was another one that had one. I mean, there's smaller departments that have female firefighters. I just don't know what we're doing wrong. I just got to figure it out. So I will find a solution. I promise you that.
Okay. Move on to item 12, board comments. Ty?
No. None?
Brianne?
Yes. So you did sell legal fireworks.
Yes.
I am shocked because all I saw all night
Illegal.
long were illegal fireworks. I mean, I felt like, I've never been at war, but if war is like that, with that being said, I don't know who, I know that the police was going crazy. I felt so bad for them. But, I mean, we were sitting in our front yard and we had a better show than the city of Lathrop put out, but they were on top of our head. So we had to take cover because the ashes were actually falling on her. So I literally, my husband and I and some of the neighbors, we were literally walking around with hoses ready to wash things down. With that dramatic speech that or description that I just gave you, for next year, I hope that the fire department and the police department, meet and plan for this, because I know that some cities have had to even bring in their fire departments to do some of the ticketing and everything else. Because, I mean, we saw the cops. It was like zoom, 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 zoom. We also saw the fire engine taken off with lights on constantly. But
they were busy that night.
yeah, but the reality is this: we have reached a point where things have gotten really dangerous. And you were talking about this is probably the largest fire we ever had when you were describing the fire earlier. If El Nino doesn't come or things don't happen and this drought keeps going on, I mean, and people escalate more, I mean, we're talking about bombs that were set off. So there has got to be planning starting before either that, or I tell you, there's about, I'd say 100 of us that are willing to go in front of the city council and beg and plead that they ban all fireworks in the city of Lathrop, because the intent was good, that people, some people could make money, people could have shows, but I mean, except for my neighbors down the street, there was no legal fireworks going on. And I joined all of those groups on Facebook of, the community of Lathrop and the Lathrop, And they were all saying the same thing. Where are the legal fireworks? Because we don't see them.
That is such a great opportunity for me to explain to you what we are doing.
Oh,
Because
Because it was a war
I
zone.
contacted the next day, when the next city management meeting, I told the city manager and the police chief that we have to do a task force. And I'll tell you why it has to be a task force.
Thank you.
The problem with us approaching it from different directions, first of all, the police don't have the authority for the fireworks. They have the authority for the bomb squad, but the police run into the problem with the search warrant. We don't have that problem because there's probable cause of them, with the fire marshal having the authority over fireworks enforcement. So we don't have the problem of the search warrant. We have probable cause to go in somebody's backyard when they're firing fireworks off and then detain them. The problem is most of those people have been drinking, and most of the crowds have been drinking. And if we don't have the support from PD,
We're in trouble.
we're gonna have firefighters that are probably not gonna make it out of there. So it has to be a task force. Somebody has to do crowd control while the fire service can make the ones that are shooting. We just can't bust into people's homes and search them. That's not what I'm saying. But if they're firing fireworks out of the back of their yard, which that's happening in my neighborhood.
Our neighborhood was nuts.
Yeah.
In front of
My windows are
Station
shaking.
31, they were setting off bombs. I mean, these were
Right. So
M80s.
I can tell you, for an example, I saw somebody lighting the fireworks. They grabbed it, they ran inside their garage with it, they shut the door, and a crowd came out, and I was by myself. And so waiting for PD, they're busy too, so they're running around. So there was nobody, and I'm not gonna approach a crowd and tell them, hey, but if you have PD there, and they're willing to arrest people because they won't give up their fireworks, because they're all been drinking, they're drunk in public. Then we will be able to enforce that. It'll only take a few before people start getting the hint, and we'll enforce that. So I got a call from Lieutenant James Hood. He's going on vacation, and I was in the JPA meeting, but he wants to work on the task force. So the chief of police is all for it. We're all for it. We're going to establish it and get it done, and starting next year, you will see a difference.
Thank
My windows were shaking.
Are you laughing because it's not going to happen, or?
I'm laughing because every year in Oakland, they tried a different plan. Nothing
you.
worked.
Wow.
Nothing. And in Oakland, all fireworks are illegal. You
Yeah.
can't even have safe and sane. But it's,
Still
from,
there.
from horizon to horizon.
Yeah.
Where my
That's
house,
what I
can
was
see
gonna
right
tell
there.
Corianne.
We tried task forces with the police. We tried everything. Nothing worked.
It might work
because
here.
the problem is too big.
Yeah.
It might work.
Might
here.
work here being.
Well, give me a little bit of hope,
smaller.
right?
Yeah,
Before.
well, we gotta try.
Yeah.
It wasn't, we had people setting off fireworks when it was illegal in the city. But it seems to be progressing every
It
year
gets
more.
bigger.
And this year was horrible, and with the drought, I mean, that's my emphasis too, on not having a lot of dry stuff. I mean, I'm driving around Lathrop, and people are conserving water by letting their grass go
Yeah.
brown completely, but it's also tall. They're not mowing it. They've got, if that night could have been, I have 3 trees in the back that are huge and they're dying. So one of those sparks, but I mean, I could feel it on top of me. Beautiful fireworks
One
right on
shake
top of my
roof.
head.
That's
But
it.
the
Doesn't-
M80s, those were right in front of the Station 31. We could see them, and they were doing it. They have a huge, what is it, one of those trees that comes down, weeping
Willow.
and it's dry as can be. And guess where they were setting those things off?
Right by the tree.
Under that weeping willow. We could see the smoke. And a couple of times you could hear the people that were drunk
Yeah.
screaming, ah! And then the hose is going, that they had set a small fire.
Yeah.
So we have the potential of, our house is on the west side, it's like domino effect.
Oh, yeah.
So,
It'd be good.
that's my concern.
Okay. We're addressing.
And all the poor dogs. Ah,
Oh, yeah.
And my dogs.
My dogs are
It's
crazy.
crazy.
I just laid there as my windows are shaking, and I'm holy smokes. Glad I got a concrete roof.
No kidding.
But I gotta tell you, it was better than the fireworks of Lathrop right on top of my head.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Too bad we couldn't go get them all in one area and let them do a show.
Exactly.
Okay, Robert?
No, I was going to address the
Same
war
thing.
zone.
Yeah, I know. It gets bigger every year, you know.
It was the biggest I've ever seen it.
Oh.
And I like
and the pro-
fireworks. I mean, I really like fireworks.
Yeah.
I'm the guy who goes to Nevada.
And the problem is, they're starting a week or two before even the July
I admit.
4th. you know.
They are.
And so it's an ongoing thing, so. All right. I'd like to take this moment right now and just take a moment of silence for our 4 Marines that were gunned down today in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Let's just take a moment of silence right now. Thank you. Along those same lines, Chief, I think, you know, as this stuff progresses like this, these shootings and stuff, I think maybe we need to pass on to our folks to just to start being more vigilant, you know. I'm not saying that somebody's going to come in and shoot up one of our fire stations, but who knows, you know. The rationale that's going on out there now, it's, you know, who knows, you know. The guy drove by a recruiting place to start with and fired into that, you know, before he went to this base and killed these 4 Marines. So I just maybe kind of pass the word on to our crews and say just keep an eye out. You see something suspicious, you know, call the police department, call you guys, call the chiefs.
Okay.
You know, hey, this guy looks suspicious or something. But I don't know. It's just, it's crazy world going on now.
I agree.
The other thing I got is, Benz, I got my shirt. How about it, can the district afford to give us a new polo shirt?
Yeah.
I've had this one for about 15 years. Would it be?
Yeah. Yeah, I think actually, have the orders gone
Yeah,
in
you know. Huh?
yet? No. They're just putting orders out now, so,
Yeah.
yeah. But can I get you guys the size?
Yeah.
You want it now?
Yeah,
I want extra large.
extra large.
Me too.
You do?
Extra large.
Mine's a large.
Large.
You don't want to show I told him extra large. Yeah.
And
No,
Manny
okay.
probably wants some
Manuel
extras.
probably,
Extra large?
yeah, I'm sure he'll take an extra large.
2X? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
2X? Romani? I mean, Director Rhodes? I mean, Director Medeiros, I'm sorry.
No.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That'll be on my eval.
Yeah,
Okay.
for all the times that I was called Raquel, I don't need any others.
Okay, no other business before the board. We'll adjourn to
She's sick, but she's alive.
next month, right?
Yes, sir. The 20th.
I was talking
Thank
to
you all.
Thank you.
Brandon's mom and dad. I was going to ask him, but no, maybe that would be such a good topic.
Excellent job as usual. You're welcome. Thank you.
No, yeah, she's, once in a while, you see her, but
Oh, I thought I turned it off.
he's in a